Good morning. Welcome to our today's lesson. My name is Teacher Kelvin Wanyambura from Gons Children High School. Today we are learning business studies. Business studies. Business studies. So I want us to ask ourselves, why do we work, or why do people go to school? Why do people search for jobs? Why do people work? People work because they need to satisfy some wants, because there are some desires in the life of each and every person. That's why each and every person works hard so that they can meet such desires. So that's why we work. And for today, we are going to learn a topic known as satisfaction of human wants, so that we can see how, as a human being, how should we satisfy our human wants. Satisfaction of human want is our topic today. Satisfaction of human wants. The date today is 23rd October 2020. So satisfaction of human wants. In this particular topic, we'll be dealing with several areas. So let us see the objectives. Objectives that we want to achieve in this particular topic. One is definition. Definition of human wants. Then after that, we look at the characteristics of human wants. Human wants. Then after that, we'll deal with classification of human wants. After that, we look at goods and services. Goods and services. Goods and services. Then we'll also look at economic resources. And finally, we'll look at scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. So we start with the definition of human wants. Definition of human wants. So human wants are the desires that human beings strive to satisfy using goods and services. So that is the definition of human wants. These are the desires that human beings strive to satisfy using goods and services. There are several desires that you need in your life. You need to eat. You need to wear clothes. You need to live in a good shelter. Some people will need vehicles. So these are the desires that we are talking about. The desires that each and every one of us as human beings, we strive day to day in our day-to-day life to satisfy. And what do we use to satisfy these human wants or these desires? We use goods and services in satisfying human wants. Therefore, these desires or these human wants, they have several characteristics. There are various characteristics of human wants. Characteristics of human wants. Characteristics of human wants. 1, they are insatiable. They are insatiable. One of the characteristics of human wants is that they are insatiable. What does this mean? This means that human wants cannot be fully satisfied. Human wants cannot be fully satisfied. And an example is food. Food is one of the human wants. You cannot fully satisfy eating because you'll eat in the morning. After 5 hours, you'll feel hungry again, then you'll need to eat again. After another 5 hours, you'll feel hungry again, and it will keep on coming back. It cannot be fully satisfied. Human wants, they are insatiable. You cannot fully satisfy the wants. That is one of the characteristics. The other one is that human wants, they are competitive. Human wants are competitive. This means that human wants keep on competing for attention. You want to satisfy some wants, others also arises, and therefore they are competing for attention. You want to eat. You want to wear clothes. You want to go to school. All these wants are important and they are competing for attention, and therefore you must make a choice of which want you'll first satisfy and leave others because they compete for attention. And an example is you want to eat, you want to get educated, you want to wear clothes, you want shelter. All these wants need to be satisfied. Therefore, there is competition in that particular area. The other characteristics of human wants is that they are repetitive. They are repetitive. Human wants are repetitive or recurrent. Repetitive or recurrent, this means that human wants keep on coming back. They keep on repeating themselves. You will wear clothes today, tomorrow you'll also need some clothes. So human wants are repetitive. They keep on coming back once again, once again. You'll eat during lunchtime, and during supper you'll need to eat again. That means that human want, that desire of eating, which is very essential, has come back again during the supper time. Yet you had eaten lunchtime. So that shows that these desires, these wants, they are repetitive. They are recurrent. They will keep on coming back again. The other characteristic of human wants is that they are complementary. Human wants are complementary. What does this mean? This means that for you to satisfy one want, you need another one. Complementary means that they go hand in hand. Some wants need others to be satisfied. Some wants give rise to other wants. Some desires in life will make you to come up with other desires. I'll give an example. For instance, if you have a desire of having a vehicle, let's say you want a desire of having a car, that is one want. This car, you cannot use it without petrol or diesel. Therefore, that means that the desire of having a car has given rise to the desire of petrol. That is what we call complementary. That one desire gives rise to another desire. Human wants are complementary. The other example is the desire of having a phone. When you have the desire of having a phone, you need a charger. That is another desire that has raised up out of the first desire. They are complementary. The other characteristic of human wants is that they require resources to satisfy. Human wants require resources to satisfy. For you to satisfy human wants, there are various resources that are required. And in this particular case, let us deal with the financial resources. If you need a car, you must have money to satisfy that desire of buying a car. If you need petrol, you must have money to satisfy that desire of petrol. If you want to eat, you need that money so that you can buy the food. Therefore, human wants require resources to satisfy. And let me tell you, my dear student, that these resources are never enough. You'll never have enough money to satisfy all your wants. So human wants require resources, but these resources, they are scarce. They are not enough. You cannot say that now you have enough money to satisfy all your wants. That is another characteristic of human wants. The other characteristic of human wants is that they vary in intensity. Human wants vary in intensity and urgency. Human wants vary in intensity and urgency. At the beginning of our topic, we say that human wants are desires. These desires, they are not the same. They vary in intensity and urgency. This means that there are some desires that are more urgently required than others. For instance, you need food. Food is a human want that is urgently required than a car. Food is one want that is urgently required than a shoe. So what we mean is that these desires, these human wants, they vary. They are not the same. All wants are not the same. They vary in intensity and urgency. There are those which are required to be satisfied first, the ones that are urgently required than others. Human wants vary in intensity and urgency. Human wants are universal. Human wants are universal. This means that all these wants are required everywhere all over the world. If you go to USA, they require food. If you go to State House, they want food. If we come back to the village, they want food. If you go back to the urban centers, they need food. Therefore, human wants are universal. They are required everywhere. They are universal. That means that they are everywhere. In each and every part of the world, human wants exist. Human wants are habitual. Some wants are habitual. What do we mean by this term? Some wants are habitual. That means that they develop as a habit. You develop a habit of wanting to eat a particular thing, and therefore it becomes a habit. For example, some human wants which are not very important, like let's say those people who smoke cigarette, that thing becomes a habit to them. It becomes addictive. So we are saying that some of these wants, they are habitual. They develop as a habit. Therefore, these are some of the characteristics of human wants. Characteristics of human wants as we have discussed. Now, there are various types of human wants, my dear students. There are two types of human wants. As I have said, human wants vary in intensity and urgency. Therefore, this means that there are some wants that are urgently required than others. This means that there are some wants that are more important than others. And therefore, from that way, we can classify our wants in two types. There are two types of human wants. One, types of human wants. Types of human wants. We have one, basic, also known as primary wants. Basic, also known as primary wants. Basic wants or primary wants, these are essential needs or essential desires that one cannot live without. These are essential desires that one cannot live without. Without them, you just die. And there are three basic wants. There are three basic wants, my dear student. One is food. You cannot live without food. Two is shelter. You cannot live without a house or somewhere to live. And three is clothes. And three is clothes. So we have three basic ones, that is food, shelter, and clothes. And as we have said, these are wants which are very, very essential in the life of each and every person, that you cannot live without them. Without food, without shelter, without clothing, you just die. So if in the exam, my dear student, you are asked to give three basic wants, you'll say food, shelter, and clothing. And why do we call them basic wants? Because you cannot live without them. Therefore, let us look at the characteristics of these basic wants or primary wants. What are the characteristics? What are the characteristics of basic wants? Characteristics of basic wants. One cannot live without them. One cannot live without them, the basic wants. Two, they are satisfied. They are satisfied before secondary wants. Three, they are felt needs. And four, they are essential needs. They are essential needs. So those are the characteristics of basic wants. One cannot live without them. That one we have said it. The other one is are satisfied before secondary wants. Basic wants are satisfied before secondary want. Before you think of buying a phone, you buy food first. Before you think of buying a shoe, you buy clothing first. Before you think of buying a vehicle, you buy an apartment or you build a house first. Therefore, basic wants are satisfied before secondary wants. The other characteristic of basic wants is that they are felt needs. You feel them. You feel to eat. You feel to wear clothes. You feel to live in a house. So they are felt needs. And I know that you are a witness of that. You just feel like eating. That is a basic want, a secondary want. A primary want. You feel like eating. That is a primary or a basic want. The other one is that they are essential needs. They are essential. Essential means they are very, very important in the life of each particular person. So if you are asked about the characteristics of basic wants, you can give those four characteristics. That is basic or primary want. The other type of want is a secondary want. Secondary wants. Secondary wants, these are needs that are not very essential in the life of a person. Secondary wants are needs that are not very important or essential in the life of a person, but they exist in the life of a person to make life more comfortable. So they are not essential, but they exist in the life of a person to make the life of that person more comfortable. For example, home furniture. You can live without home furniture, but you need those seats so that your life is comfortable. After you are out of job, you go and sit in a good sofa set. That is a need that is needed for comfort, but it is not very essential. Secondary wants are needed to make life more comfortable, but they are not essential. You can live without these particular wants. Secondary wants are classified into two. There are those that are needed for comfort. We have comfort secondary wants, and we have luxury secondary wants. Comfort secondary wants, they make your life just comfortable. But luxury, something that is luxurious, it is excess of comfort. You need more comfort. An example of a luxury need is a private jet. That is a luxurious secondary want. It makes your life comfortable, and not only comfortable, but it makes it more and excessively comfort. And then comfort, an example of those that are for comfort only, simple comfort, is just a personal vehicle. That is for comfort. A private jet is for luxury. Therefore, secondary wants are classified further into comfort and luxury want. Comfort, just simple comfort. Luxurious, excessive comfort. Those are the two classifications of human wants. We have the basic or primary wants that are essentials of life, and secondary wants that are needed to make life more comfortable, yet they are classified further into two. Those for comfort, just simple comfort, and those for luxury, excessive comfort. But to satisfy these wants, you require goods and services. When we began the topic, we said human wants are desires that human beings strive to satisfy using goods and services. And therefore, to satisfy these basic wants and the secondary wants, you need what we call goods and services. Therefore, that brings us to our next subtopic, which is goods and services. Goods and services. So we have learned the types of human wants, basic and secondary wants. And then for these wants to be satisfied, we require goods and services. Goods and services. What are goods? We start with goods. What are goods? Goods are tangible items that helps to satisfy human wants. Goods are tangible items that helps to satisfy human wants. Something that is tangible is something that you can touch. For instance, this duster is tangible. Therefore, this is a good because it is a tangible want. It is a tangible item that is assisting to satisfy the human want of rubbing the blackboard when the teacher is teaching. A pen is a good because you can touch it. Tangible, you can touch the pen. Therefore, this is a tangible item that helps a student. A pen is a tangible item that helps to satisfy the need of a student that is writing, because education is also a very important want. This glass is a good because it is a tangible item that will satisfy your want of drinking water. So that is what we call goods. What are the characteristics of goods? The characteristic of goods, one of them is they are tangible. Goods are tangible. That means you can touch them. This pen is a good because it is tangible. You can touch it. The other characteristic of goods is that they can be stored. Goods can be stored. you can store goods to use them in the near future. For example, maize is a tangible item, therefore that is a good. You can store maize so that you can use it in future, because maybe in future there will be less or limited maize. Therefore, goods can be stored for use in the future. If you have a lot of goods currently, you store them so that you can use it in future where there will be scarce of those goods. They can be stored. Another characteristics of goods is that quality of goods can be standardized. Quality can be standardized. Quality of goods can be standardized. That means goods can be standardized in quality. You can say that this is a good quality good. This is a poor quality good. When you buy some goods, you can be able to realize that there are some goods that are of poor quality. This is poor quality wheat flour. This is good quality wheat flour. There is Kenya Bureau of Standard that standardizes or checks the quality of goods. Therefore, goods can be standardized in quality, or the quality of goods can be standardized. The other characteristic of goods is that can change ownership. Can change ownership. Goods can change ownership. For instance, you have your pen, you have your book. You can sell that good or that book, that pen, to another person in exchange of cash. Therefore, if that pen was yours and you sell it to another person, it's not yours again. So the ownership of that book has changed from you to another person. If you have a private jet and that private jet is owned by you, then after some times you sell that private jet to another person. Now that private jet does not belong to you. It belongs to that person. The ownership of the private jet has changed because it is a good. It has changed, can change ownership. So these are some of the characteristics of goods. They are tangible, they can be stored, the quality of goods can be standardized, and the goods can change ownership. And I've given very good examples of all these characteristics. Let us look at services. Let us look at services. Because these, both of them, goods and services, are required in satisfying human wants. So we said goods are tangible items. On the other hand, services are intangible. Services are intangible actions that satisfies human wants. So these are not tangible. That means you cannot touch a service. You cannot touch a service because it is intangible action. Like teaching, it is an action. You cannot teach the service. You cannot come and touch the teaching that is being offered. That is a service. Another example is nursing. When you go to the hospital, maybe you touch the nurse, but not the service of nursing. When you go to the school, maybe you touch the teacher, but not the service of teaching. Therefore, they are intangible. They are intangible and not items. They are intangible actions. You are talking, you are offering a service to a person, a service that cannot be touched, a service that cannot be seen. You cannot see the teaching, you just see the teacher. So that is what we call services. The characteristics of services are the opposite of characteristics of goods. We said goods are tangible items, services are intangible actions. Therefore, one characteristic of a service are intangible. Services are intangible. That means that you cannot touch a service. You cannot see a service. You just feel it. The other one is cannot be stored. Cannot be stored. You cannot store teaching for future. Now you cannot say now, Teacher Kevin, you can store this teaching of satisfaction of human wants to future. No, you cannot store a service. You cannot store selling. Selling is another service. You cannot store nursing and say that now this nursing will occur in the near future because today is limited. No, you cannot store a service because it is an action. How can you store an action in the real sense? Can you store an action? No, cannot be stored. Quality cannot be standardized. Quality cannot be standardized. Quality cannot be standardized. The quality of goods cannot be standardized. You cannot say that this nursing is of good quality than the other one. You don't have Kenya Bureau of Standard of Teaching, Kenya Bureau of Standard of Nursing, Kenya Bureau of Standard of Selling, Kenya Bureau of Standard of Warehousing. How? You don't have them. Therefore, services cannot be standardized in quality. And lastly, cannot change ownership. Services cannot change ownership. That means that I cannot transfer my teaching to another person. Now you are a student, I tell you that. You have, take my teaching, you become a teacher, I become a student. You cannot transfer teaching. You cannot sell your teaching. You cannot change the possession. You are a nurse. You cannot sell that nursing to another person. You just offer the service, but you cannot sell it to another person. Therefore, services cannot change ownership. Services cannot change possession. You cannot change the ownership of a person. That now you are a nurse, you sell that nursing to another person who is a farmer, you become a farmer, and that person becomes a nurse. That is not reality. Therefore, services cannot change ownership. So, my dear student, if in the exam you are asked the differences between goods and services, the differences between goods and services, you can use these characteristics. Goods are tangible, services are intangible. Goods can be stored, services cannot be stored. Quality of goods can be standardized, quality of services cannot be standardized. Goods can change ownership, services cannot change ownership. Now, we are almost concluding. We get to economic resources. We have seen the differences between goods and services. We have seen the definition of goods and services and the characteristics. Now, initially I said, for you to satisfy human wants, you require resources. For you to satisfy these wants, you require resources. That's why we have to look at economic resources. We have to look at economic resources. Economic resources. Economic resources. So in this, what are resources? What are resources? We need to know what are resources. Resources, these are things. These are things that are used to achieve an objective. These are things that are used to achieve or an objective or to do something. To do something. To achieve something in life. These are things that are used to achieve an objective or to do something in the life of a person. We call them resources. Things that are used to achieve a certain objective or to do something in the life of a person are called resources. And resources are classified into three. We have natural resources. Natural resources, these are resources that are given free, as free gift by nature. Free gift by nature. They are called natural resources. They are free gift by nature. Natural rivers, natural oceans, all those are natural resources. We have man-made resources. Man-made resources. These are things that are made by man, resources that are made by man to satisfy human wants. Man-made resources are resources that are made by man to satisfy human wants. The third classification is human resources. Human resources. Human resources, these are human beings. These are human beings offering services to satisfy human wants. To satisfy human wants. So these are the three classifications of resources. We have natural resources given as free gift by nature. An example is natural rivers. Man-made resources that are made by man to satisfy human wants. An example is a vehicle, a private jet, a cup, a plate. All those are man-made resources. Human resources are human beings offering services to satisfy human wants. For example, teaching is a human resource. It is a teacher offering a service. Nursing is a human resource. It is a nurse offering a service. That is human resources. So, what are the characteristics of economic resources? Characteristics of economic resources. I will highlight them, then I explain. Characteristics of economic resources. Characteristics of economic resources. Characteristics of economic resources. Continue sending your questions, your comments on the number that is on your screen so that I can answer them. Characteristics of economic resources. Economic resources are scarce in supply. Economic resources are scarce in supply. Economic resources have utility. I will explain. Economic resources have utility. Economic resources have alternative uses. Economic resources have alternative uses. Economic resources can be combined. Economic resources can be combined. I'll explain. Economic resources can change ownership. Economic resources can change ownership. Economic resources are unevenly distributed. Economic resources are unevenly distributed. So let us explain the first one. Economic resources are scarce in supply. This means that economic resources are not enough. Like an example of financial resource, which is money. It cannot be enough to satisfy all your wants. So when we say that economic resources are scarce in supply, we are talking about economic resources not being enough to satisfy all the wants of a human being. An example is money. It's not enough to satisfy all your wants. And I know you are a witness of that. Money is not enough. Money is never enough. That's why you'll see that a billionaire will still want to have more money. The next characteristic is have utility. Have utility. Economic resources have utility means they have ability to satisfy human wants. Having utility means that they have ability to satisfy human wants. That's why we use economic resource, an example which is money, to satisfy the wants. So they have ability to satisfy human wants. That is what we mean by having utility. Economic resources have alternative uses. I keep on using the example of money as an economic resource or as a resource. Money has alternative uses. You can use money to buy clothes. You can use money to buy vehicles. You can use money to buy rice or wheat flour. So economic resources have alternative uses. They have different uses. You can use economic resources in different ways to achieve your objective of satisfying your want as a human being. Economic resources can be combined. Economic resources can be combined. This means that you can combine one resource with another one to satisfy human wants. Let me give an example of economic resources having the ability to be combined. You combine maize and beans to cook food. So you are combining a man-made, a natural resource which is maize and another one which is beans to cook food which is a basic want. I hope you have gotten that example. Economic resources can be combined to satisfy a certain want. You combine book with a pen to write and achieve the objective of education. So economic resources can be combined. Economic resources can change ownership. Economic resources can change ownership. A poor person can come to your house and ask you for maize, which is an economic resource. When you give that maize to that person, it becomes his or hers. It's not yours again. So the ownership of that maize has changed from you to that person that you have given. When you go to a shop, the pens that are in the shop, they belong to the shopkeeper. He can give that pen to you in exchange of money, and therefore it has changed the ownership from the shopkeeper to you as the buyer. Economic resources are unevenly distributed. This means that economic resources are distributed in various areas. You go to America, you go to Turkana, you go to Embu, you go to Kirinyaga, Kiambu. Those resources are distributed everywhere. They are unevenly distributed. And those are some of the characteristics of economic resources. And now I deal with the last subtopic, then we get to the questions that you've sent. The last subtopic is scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. Scarcity, choice, scarcity, very fast, choice, and opportunity cost. Scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. My dear students, I want you to know that we have said human wants are very many, but the resources are not enough to satisfy all the wants. So that means that resources are scarce. Scarcity means limited in supply. Limited in supply. Now, since the resources are limited in supply or they are not enough to satisfy all your wants, you must make a choice. You must make a choice. I want us to see that relationship. You must make a choice. Choice is the alternative preferred. Now, you wanted to buy a book worth 50 shillings, a pen worth 20 shillings, and a bread worth 30 shillings. Yet you only have 70 shillings. That means that the money you have is not enough. It is scarce in supply. The money you have is not enough to satisfy all your wants. Therefore, you must have to make a choice and have some alternative preferred, satisfy some wants and leave others. Satisfy the more basic wants and leave the less basic wants. Therefore, the wants that you don't satisfy are called opportunity cost. Therefore, opportunity cost is the value of foregone alternative where the choice has been made. We are concluding. So there is a relationship between scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. Scarcity means resources are not enough to satisfy all your wants. Therefore, you must make a choice to satisfy some wants and forego others. The value to forego means to do away with. So, the value of the foregone alternative, the value of the want that you have not satisfied is what we call opportunity cost, Therefore, I'm looking at your questions. Okay, so finally, we have looked at scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. As I conclude, we have said that human want requires resources to satisfy. Yet these resources are not enough. Therefore, you must make a choice. So scarcity leads to choice. Human wants being limited in supply or not being enough makes you to make a choice of satisfying some wants and leaving others. The value of the foregone alternative where the choice has been made is what we call opportunity cost. And for you to make a choice, you must have, finally, we must have a scale of preference. A scale of preference, just for a few minutes, a scale of preference is a list. A scale of preference is a list of wants arranged in the order of priority. A scale of preference is a list of human wants arranged in the order of priority, from the most important to the least important, so that you first satisfy the most important and then forego the least important because money is not enough to satisfy all wants. So if in the exam you are asked what is a scale of preference, it is a list of wants arranged in the order of priority from the most important to the least important, so that you satisfy the most basic: food, clothing, and shelter, and leave the others. Thank you for being with me throughout this lesson of satisfaction of human wants. My name is Teacher Kelvin Wanyambura from Gons Children High School. Thank you, and God bless you, and never forget to pray before doing anything.